This week's parsha is Parsha Shelach Lecha. It's a tough parsha to read. It's the sin of the Meraglim, but it's got to be read. And last year we actually spoke very more philosophically about one of the comments of Rashi. This year I want to focus more on a bit more on the sin of the Meraglim, and this is going to be based on a Rav Bernstein shiur I heard online. It's his 2017 shiur, about 24 minutes in, and he bases it on the Orach HaKadosh. So in order to just put things into context, let's start at chapter 14, verse 26. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe ve'al Aaron lemur. Typical introduction. God speaks to Moshe and Aaron to tell us, Ad matai le'idah harazot asher malanim alai. How long for this evil assembly that provokes complaints against me? I've heard the complaints of the children of Israel whom they provoke or complain against me. Okay? Say to them, as I live, the word of Hashem, if I shall not do to you as you have spoken in my ears. Which is a terrible moment, because it seems like God's saying, just as you said, that's what your punishment is going to be. What did they say? That they'll die in the midbar. So Hashem is saying, that's what you said, you'll die in the midbar? Fine, then you will die in the midbar. That's your punishment. Okay, now here is the pasuk you want to focus on. But midbar hazeh yiplu fi kareichem, in this wilderness shall your carcasses drop, v'chol pkudechem l'chol mizbarchem, right? All of you who are counted in any of your numberings, miben esrim shana v'mala, from 20 years of age and above, asher halinotem alai, whom you caused to complain against me. Okay, so the gist of the pasuk is saying, if you're 20 years old and over, you complained, you're out, you're going to die in the midbar. Okay? But the Orach HaKadosh kind of hones in on the last three words. Asher halinotem alai. That you have complained against me. Now, what, says the Orach HaKadosh, is this adding? Because we know, the Jewish people complained against God. Not only do we know that they complained against God, but God himself said that they complained against me. If you look at verse 27, it says, Asher that you're complaining against me. And then he says it again in the same pasuk. Asher I heard that they were complaining against me. So why do we need this extra refrain at the end of the pasuk that says, Asher halinotem alai? What is this adding? That is what the Orach HaKadosh is dealing with. Technical, important. And his answer is very interesting. So, says the Orach HaKadosh, what is the punishment of Bnei Israel? They'll die in the midbar. Well, okay. So what's the crime of Bnei Israel? Well, that seems simple. It was the sin of the Meraglim. Okay. Because you sin in the midbar. Sorry, because of the sin of the Meraglim, you will die in the midbar. Now, actually, that's not so clear, because it may be that this punishment is not only for the sin of the Meraglim, right? And by the way, just to clarify, the sin of the Meraglim is the fact that the Meraglim came back, they issued the bad report, and then Bnei Israel believed them, right? Now, to say that they're going to die in the midbar, not as a result of the sin of the Meraglim, seems like a pretty big chiddush. That seems to be pretty clear. Because of the sin of the Meraglim, you're going to die. You complain against us, you complain against me, God, it's over. Now, it's actually not so black and white. How do we know this? Because if we just refer to a few psukim earlier, verse Chaf Beis, right, Chaf Bet, verse 22, says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because all of these people who have seen my glory and my signs that I've performed in Egypt and in the wilderness, because they've tried me this 10 times and they weren't listening to my voice. Now, this is very interesting, because this is the only time that Kadosh Baruch Hu is addressing a wrongdoing as a culmination, as a whole list of wrongdoings. Now, what does it say that, we tested Hashem 10 times? So it seems like, because it's been 10 times already, enough! You've tested me 10 times, enough already! Right? Now, that leads us to ask the question, well, what if this was the first time? What happens if Bnei Israel were actually perfect until this point, and this was their first sin? Now, it seems fair and possible to infer that if this was the first time, the punishment would have been so severe, because God is saying that this is happening because it's been 10 times. But okay, so what's the difference? It hasn't been it's not the first time, it's been 10 times already, enough! So, What difference does it make at the end of the day? First time, 10 times, who cares? That's when we refer back to our pasuk in verse 29. It says, Mi ben esrim shana v'mala, right, from 20 years and up. The age of culpability is 20. So says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, if the Aver of the Meraglim happened in the second year of the Midbar. Now the question is, who's liable to be punished? Says the pasuk, anyone who's aged 20. With the age of 20, when was it age 20? Now, at the sin of the Meraglim? Or, because this is a culmination of 10 Averas, was it at the age of 20 at Yetziat Mitzrayim? That is a huge nafkamina. Because if this is as a result of these 10 complaints, then seemingly people who were 19 years old last year at the Yetziat Mitzrayim, when the Jewish people start to complain, then they're not being punished here, they're not included. Now, how do we know that? Because that's the meaning of the pasuk, right? Asher halinotem alai, who have complained against me. Anyone who's 20 years and up, once you started complaining against me. Now, how do we know that? Because just a couple of psukim earlier, as we said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, here it says, that you're complaining against me, because the whole Jewish people were complaining against God now with the sin of the Meraglim. But Asher halinotem alai, that is referring to events past, the first 9 sins. If you're 19 years old for the first 9 sins, then seemingly you're patur. Just being 20 right now, that's not going to include you in this punishment. Wow. Now, the Or HaChaim doesn't actually end there. He keeps going. It says, this may be one of the reasons why we celebrate Tu B'Av. The Mishnah says that actually there are the two happiest days in the Jewish people's calendar are Yom Kippur and Tu B'Av. Now the question is, well, what the Gemara asks, what's so special about Tu B'Av? So this day, this event is one of the events that gave rise, that caused the celebration of Tu B'Av. That is to say, in the 43rd year, they're about to enter the desert. There are another 15,000 Jews who are supposed to die. So Tisha B'Av comes, the fateful night. They expect to die and not get up in the morning, and nothing happens. Okay, so maybe they miscalculated, and a few days passed, a very tense few days, as you can imagine. By the time the 15th of Av came by, well, the moon was full. There's no way they made a miscalculation. So now they realized that they've survived. Hence the celebration. But this is a little bit shver, says the Or HaChaim, because really it just seems like this whole celebration of Tu B'Av is because they were mistaken. They made a mistake. They thought that if you were at the age of 20, at the age of the Meraglim, then you'd be punished. And really, they were wrong. If they had the commentary of the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, then they would have been fine. They would have known that they'd be okay. So the Or HaChaim says no. That's what's going on. This whole pasuk of Asher halinotem alai, that is so subtle and delicate. Really it can mean one or the other. It can mean either age 20 now, or age of 20, when they left Egypt. And therefore they had to have they needed to complain 10 times. Now the reason why there's this kind of leeway being given is because sometimes God wants to give you some room to act, because so much can happen between events, and the Or HaChaim HaKadosh actually, and therefore God kind of presents things to allow for different options and outcomes. Now the Or HaChaim HaKadosh quotes a very interesting raya for this. That is to say, if we go back to Bereshit, God tells Adam that from the day you eat of this fruit, you will die. Bayom, right? On that day. Now, our question is, whose day? If we're going to say it's Adam's day, then that means 24 hours, and he'll die that same day. But maybe it means God's day. Now, how long does God say? So says the pasuk in Tehillim, which we actually read on Shabbat morning, Ki elef shanim beinecha ki yom etmol ki yavor. Right? Because 1,000 years are in your eyes like yesterday. It's one day, 1,000 years. So maybe Bayom just means 1,000 years. Now, why is God giving this leeway? Because he wants to give Adam an option. If Adam does tshuva, then it'll be God's day, because God will interpret it broadly. If, however, Adam does not do tshuva, then he'll die that same day. But thankfully Adam did tshuva, and therefore he was able to survive that day, and that explains that. And so too here, when it says Asher halinotim alai, that can either include these the people who are 20 now, or it could exclude them and say no, not 20 now, but 20 a year ago, and therefore they would be safe. Adkan divrei ora chaim akadosh. Have a good Shabbat. Hope this wasn't too technical. Enjoy.